It is clear that shellfish matter to the people of Rhode Island. They represent not only water purifiers for Narragansett Bay and our salt ponds, but they signify a way of life for many. In essence, shellfish stir the blood.
The state has no ongoing funding for shellfish management. The federal government has always made money available for migratory species that go between states and between jurisdictions. And historically, the shellfish program, seeing that the shellfish are sedentary, become a local responsibility. And of course, with the lack of funding was also the lack of staff. And I was very fortunate as an adjunct professor that I would just recruit all sorts of student interns. Those kids were the ones that provided me the manpower to do the surveys and do a lot of the work. And at the same time, I had a great communication and working relationship with the industry. And so the industry worked with me too. I would get together with the shellfishermen and we'd discuss mutual issues and things that we could get together to work on, and we brought in the Division of Enforcement as well, and we really had a good setup. So we worked around the funding thing, but it was always limited by funding.
Scientists and researchers here in Rhode Island have been doing work on some shellfish diseases. Always a big issue, always a big threat to the industry, both aquaculture and wild harvest. Now that people are starting to look at new species like blue mussels, getting a handle on what some of the risks are in terms of moving animals around or trying to predict harvests or predict stocks it's important to understand what's happening from a disease standpoint.
Being on the water has an allure that speaks to people. It's meaningful to their lives, to their outlook, to their future. Shellfish represent something very powerful in the state of Rhode Island. Ask anyone you meet what their connection to shellfish is, and they will not only tell you, but likely have a great story to go along with it.
It's amazing to me that there hasn't already been enough written about shellfish, because there's been a lot written about shellfish. It's in the Providence Journal constantly. It's in all of our magazines. We have quahog festivals. We have a lot of celebration of shellfish that's always been going on. It's not like this is the first effort to sort of celebrate and honor shellfish in Rhode Island. So it was sort of amazing to me that there is still this really deep hunger for celebrating our shellfish. And so I don't know, I'm still figuring that out, why this strikes such a deep chord with people. But it just seems to be the state pastime of Rhode Island, I think, to love our shellfish.
I love working outdoors and feeling so intimately connected with the change of seasons. There's good things to everything. The wintertime, it's cold, but there's nobody there. It's beautiful. A lot of the seabirds come back to the pond. It's just a nice place to be. It's a beautiful setting. I just feel so grateful to have the opportunity to be able to work in that setting year-round.
We, as an organization, really try to promote across the country exactly what the state of Rhode Island was doing, which was really to take a step back and look at how we as a community are managing our shellfish resources. And TNC very much wanted to be a part of that. And we really felt that what we could bring to the process was the ecological considerations for shellfish habitat, because there's a lot of different uses and stakeholders involved in shellfish, and obviously wild harvest and aquaculture are two big ones, but the environmental benefits, the ecosystem benefits of shellfish habitat are also very critical and need to be considered. Shellfish are so important to so many different people. Whether you're a wild harvester, making your living off of harvesting shellfish, or you're an aquaculturist, or if you're someone who just enjoys, our watersheds, the coastline of Rhode Island, shellfish are such a critical component of that. And the SMP process did a fantastic job of making sure that every single stakeholder was able to participate and able to be part of the process and of the plan. And from TNC's perspective, when we see a process like that, that's the type of process that we want to be a part of. One that's taking into account all the voices and all the interests. And this plan was really exciting, just even the way it was set up, where the plan really spends equal amount of concentration on the wild harvest aspect of the plan, the aquaculture aspect of the plan, and the ecological considerations of shellfish in the plan.
But sound management that incorporates many different perspectives, includes good science, shapes and reforms policy, is no easy task. It costs money, takes time and resources, and these are hard things to come by. It was imperative for the Shellfish Management Plan leadership to find ways to work around these challenges.
There's something that people, whether it be the communities we work with or the professionals we work with here or in the different countries that CRC has been present, is that there's a different feel to working with us than when they work with consultants or government agencies and so on. We sort of join them in this sort of, what our director, Steve Olson, used to call this voyage of discovery, because there's really an unknown factor when you try to start tackling a problem and doing studies and starting having people talk to each other. We really don't know what's going to come from that. Now, we get funded by grants and by donors who put us on timetables, and they have high expectations for what we're going to produce. But in fact, the only guarantee is that we'll start something and then see where it goes. And the fact that we accompany people on this journey, which can actually be tricky and somewhat risky for them. We may have them do things in public that cause political repercussions or ripples, and so we stay with them through the whole process. And that's something that a consulting company never does. Often, even when other universities are involved, they don't necessarily see their job as to really stay with a group and to really address a problem over as long a period of time as it takes. And there's something in Latin America we call the la mística del programa, the mystique. There's just something that feels different when people sort of get engaged in a project that we're involved in.
The Shellfish Management Plan recognized the value of paying equal attention to all voices in the room. This was something that continues today as the Shellfish Management Plan team start to look towards the future in launching a Rhode Island Shellfish Initiative. It was essential that the Shellfish Management Plan really highlight the many different facets of shellfish that make it important and critical to the Rhode Island way of life.
We talked to the aquaculture industry, we talked to the shell fishermen, we talked to recreational harvesters, we talked to municipalities, and we asked them, what are some of the issues? What are the concerns that you have around this issue? What is stirring the blood around this issue, the shellfish issue? And some of the things that we found about the shellfish is people were really concerned that there was not a lot of communication or coordination, effective coordination between the two agencies who were managing this resource. The other issue that was brought up was that a lot of times there wasn't a lot of research and about the shellfish resources, and therefore a lot of the regulators, it was perceived that the regulators, that the managers of this resource at the state level were managing without the best available science. And so there was a need to really improve that science.